again, everybody. Welcome to Gamecock Central Radio Basketball Report today with Gamecock great Joe Rhett. My name's Emerson Phillips. Glad to have you along. Joe, the Gamecocks beat Missouri 85-75 on Sunday afternoon, and Carolina now, improbably some would say, 3-0 in Southeastern Conference play. The Gamecocks are 8-7, and right now just three teams in the SEC are 3-0. It's Tennessee, Ole Miss, and South Carolina. LSU is 2-0 in the league. Kentucky right now 2-1 in conference. Auburn is 1-1, and everybody else in the league is 1-2 or worse. So, Joe, nobody saw this 3-0 start in SEC play coming for the Gamecocks, and I thought it was interesting the way that the game was rescheduled from Saturday to Sunday, Joe. We heard about Missouri having the snowstorm in the Midwest, and the snowstorm covered half the country, and it delayed Missouri's travel plan. So I was concerned, first of all, Joe, that this game would not get in this weekend. I was worried it wouldn't be played because the Gamecocks clearly hot after a 2-0 start in league play. They had to play this game this weekend, Joe. They finally got Missouri in on Sunday and beat them by 10.
Yes, they played well. And two things I was concerned about. One was how South Carolina was going to respond after winning, being 2-0 so far in the conference. That was one thing I was concerned about. And they came out and they played very well. I give them a lot of credit. They were focused, especially having to delay, like you said, about Missouri coming in late, a day later. But to the advantage being delayed, the home team is beneficial to that. So I was glad for that. Another thing I was worried about is Mike Kotsar. After he had that career game the other night, I wanted to see how he responded. And he did in the way he didn't score as much, but he still rebounded well. And those are two of my concerns, how the Gamecocks will respond to they have being so young in the backcourt, and also Mike Kotsar. I wanted to see how well he played. He didn't score a lot of points, but he rebounded well. And he made some plays towards the end, but he just wasn't that, of course, we weren't expecting him to score 25 a game after that anyway, but he still played aggressive and somewhat on the rebounder, but he didn't score a lot.
Gamecocks led 42-36 at halftime, but, Joe, this was a one-possession game with about 3 minutes left. The Gamecocks hit back-to-back threes. It was Felipe Haase and A.J. Lawson, the freshman, connecting on back-to-back threes with about 2.5 minutes left to put the Gamecocks up by 9, and the Gamecocks beat Missouri 85-75. Missouri wouldn't go away until the very end, Joe. This was not an easy win by any stretch. In fact, the final score, not as close as the game itself was. So Carolina guts out another pretty tough win in conference play in a game that was originally scheduled for Saturday and was pushed back a day. So the Gamecocks are 3-0 in league play. And I thought it was interesting, Joe, you talked about Mike Kotsar coming off that 25-point game, a career high in the win over 14th-ranked Mississippi State last week, Wednesday night. Kotsar comes back, just takes 2 shots in the game against Missouri on Sunday. He was 1 of 2 from the floor. He had 4 points, but he had 7 rebounds, 5 of them offensive, 2 steals, 2 blocks, and an assist in 19 minutes. And the Gamecocks had 5 players in double figures, led by another freshman, Joe, Keyshawn Bryant. 15 points to lead the Gamecocks on 7 of 9 shooting in 23 minutes. And Carolina got a good game from Alonzo Frank, just 9 minutes off the bench, but he shot 3 of 4. He had 7 points. So the 2 freshmen, Joe, Bryant and Alonzo Frank, chipping in 22 points. And, Joe, it seems like each night out it's a different player having a big night for Carolina, and this night it was Keyshawn Bryant that led the team in scoring.
Absolutely. This team, we don't have that one guy that can lead us every night that we can go to. This team is winning collectively. They're buying into, again, Frank Martin's philosophy, his style of play, and collectively this team, each guy was stepping up every night. And what I liked the other night, we had a lot of balanced scoring. We had, I think we had 5 guys in double figures, 3 starters, and Hassani Gravin and Felipe Haase. They were in double figures, two guys off the bench. So Hassani Gravin didn't shoot the ball extremely well, but he still was aggressive. That's what I liked. He was still aggressive, was able to shoot, I think, 12 free throws. And he was able to make those free throws and, step up in the game. But to end that game the other night, I think Missouri cut it to 3 at one point with a couple minutes left. And to see a freshman, A.J. Lawson, and a sophomore, Felipe Haase, make 2 big, timely threes to propel this team, it shows the involvement of this team. We keep talking about this team is growing from when we saw them play early in the year against Stony Brook and when we saw them play against Missouri. This team is really growing up. We saw that they just couldn't finish games out early on, but now they're at the point where they're realizing, teams going to make runs, and we have to counter that. And this team is realizing we have to counter their other teams' runs, and we're able to, finish games off. And that's what I like. That's what you want to see as a fan, as a coach. You want to see that teams can, when teams sustain runs, that we can counter that and be able to finish these games out.
Yeah, it's 3 straight games to open conference play for the Gamecocks where, with 3 minutes left, they've all been close. Carolina beat Florida with a last-second bucket in Gainesville, and then the Gamecocks were tied with Mississippi State late and won that game in overtime. And in this Missouri game, the Gamecocks led by 3 with about 2.5 minutes left and went on to win by 10. So the Gamecocks are winning close games. That's got to be a good sign. Gamecock Central Radio here. Emerson Phillips with Gamecock great Joe Rhett talking about this Gamecock win over Missouri. Carolina got 15 points from Keyshawn Bryant, 14 points, 4 boards, 4 blocks, 3 steals, 2 assists from Chris Silva, who had 4 fouls in the game, but he did not foul out. That's great news for Carolina. And A.J. Lawson, the freshman guard, 11 points and 4 assists. No turnovers in 32 minutes for A.J. Lawson, who shot 4 for 10, including 2 of 6 from 3. And it was Trey Campbell playing 28 minutes for the Gamecocks, the graduate transfer from Georgetown. Campbell, the guard, with 8 points on 3 of 7 shooting. He hit 2 threes. And, Joe, you mentioned Hassani Gravett. Strange game for him. He didn't hit a field goal. He was 0 for 6, but he was 12 for 12 at the line. And the Gamecocks shot 29 for 35 at the foul line. It's the second game in a row where Carolina has been really, really good at the foul line, Joe. We know you can win close games if you shoot it well at the line. And you talked about Gravett. His shot wasn't falling, but he continued to be aggressive. He drove the basket. He drew fouls. He got to the line, and he scored there.
Yes, I think that's one of the keys why we won the game on the free throw line. They was very aggressive, and they made free throws. And that was a problem for this Gamecock team early on. And surprising to me also is the turnover ratio. The last 2 games, I think we had over 20 turnovers the last game, and to be able to pull these games out with over 20 turnovers is amazing to me. So that means, they're making some, careless mistakes. If they can correct that, this team can be a whole lot better. If they can correct some of those unforced turnovers, that would definitely help this team in the long run.
Turnovers critical, like you said, Joe. Gamecocks forced 20 Missouri turnovers, scored 33 points, and the Gamecock bench outscored Missouri's bench 33-13. You remember the Carolina bench outscored Mississippi State 28-2 last week. Gamecocks 8-7 overall, 3-0 in SEC play, tied for first in the league, with Tennessee ranked 3rd in the country and Ole Miss up to number 18 in the country this week. So, Joe, the Gamecocks have got 2 road games this week. Relatively quick turnaround for a Wednesday night ball game at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's an interesting story. This will be a 7 o'clock tip in Nashville Wednesday night. It'll be on the SEC Network. Vandy's 9-6 overall. Joe, they are 0-3 in SEC play. They are dead last in the conference. They're the only team in the league that's 0-3 in conference play. Losses to Ole Miss at home, and then at Georgia, and last weekend at Kentucky, 56-47. Joe, the Commodores held Kentucky to 28 points in the first half on Saturday. That was Kentucky's lowest first half scoring output of the season. They played zone defense for 40 minutes, Joe. They slowed the game down against Kentucky. Vanderbilt also hit 5 of 11 threes in the first half to have a 2-point lead over Kentucky at Rupp Arena on Saturday, but Kentucky came back and beat them 56-47. So, Joe, Vanderbilt really with its backs against the wall here. After the Carolina game Wednesday night, Vandy's going to play 4 straight ranked opponents. 3 of them are SEC teams, Mississippi State, Tennessee. Then they're at Oklahoma in the SEC Big 12 Challenge. And then they get Kentucky again in Nashville. So, Joe, it really feels like a serious sense of urgency for the Commodores. They don't want to go to 0-4 in the league. They got a very tough schedule ahead.
No doubt. They're having their struggles right now, but Vandy, they have been in all their games so far. They're a tough team to play. Like you said, Ole Miss, they lost at home. And Ole Miss is a team that wasn't expected to do well in the conference, but they are playing really, really well. Ole Miss is a team that just always underrated, but some way that team down there always let those guards get off. You got a kid that came from here, Devontae Schuler, that's playing extremely well down there. But Vandy's always been a tough opponent for the Gamecocks. Anybody. Whenever you go to Vanderbilt, the floor is different. And the bench is on behind the baskets. But I think they allow the coaches to walk the sideline now. So it's very difficult to play there because of the way the arena is set up. But, Vandy's a tough team. It's not going to be easy out, but it's a winnable game. It's a winnable game against Vanderbilt this week, and a winnable game against LSU on Saturday, I believe. But we won our first game against Florida, and if we can go handle our business on Wednesday night and play this team tough, it's going to be a tough out. I mean, like I say, they're young, but they are very scrappy. Got a kid, I think, that you said we mentioned earlier from South Carolina that we let get out of here as well. And, of course, he's going to be hungry. He's going to play well against, his home state team. So we're going to have our hands full, but if we can continue to sustain our, defense and continue to get better and better on defense because, sometimes we struggle in the half-court scoring, but, that's why we try to play the tough defense that we play because we want to get some easy baskets sometimes. So hopefully we can sustain what we need to play, the way we need to play, and come out with a winnable game so we can go, 4-0 in the conference.
Yeah, that's what's at stake for the Gamecocks Wednesday night, 7 o'clock tip in Nashville against the Vanderbilt Commodores. Vanderbilt led by Aaron Neesmith from Porter-Gaud, who was last year's Gatorade Player of the Year. He was the high school Player of the Year in South Carolina. Joe, I saw him at the very prestigious Chick-fil-A Classic. That's the holiday basketball tournament hosted by R&E, hosted by Richland Northeast High School every year, and he led that tournament in scoring. He was the most outstanding player of the Chick-fil-A Classic, and this is a national field. Teams come from all over the country to play. It's a very stout field that the Chick-fil-A brings in, and Neesmith was the best player in that field last year. So he's a freshman at Vanderbilt now, averaging 8 points a game and 5.5 rebounds, a 6'6" guard from Charleston. And a lot of folks listening today obviously very familiar with Aaron Neesmith, who had a fantastic high school career at Porter-Gaud. And you're right, extra incentive for him, you would have to think, against his home state team.
Absolutely, and that's a point of concern for us. But hopefully we can do well and contain him a little bit. He's going to have a chip on his shoulder. He's going to play. He want to come out and shine against us. And, hopefully that we can contain him and he doesn't have this astronomical game against us. Yeah. But good. I'm happy for the kid. He went to where he wanted to go. And, again, Vandy's a tough place to play, but I think this is another winnable game for us on Wednesday night.
Gamecocks at Vandy, Wednesday at 7, SEC Network, and then Saturday, 6 o'clock start for South Carolina at LSU. LSU currently 2-0 in the league, and they are set to play at 18th-ranked Ole Miss on Tuesday night of this week. So Joe and I will come back later in the week. We'll preview this LSU game for you. We'll talk about how they did at Ole Miss. Another big game coming up. Carolina 3-0 in the league. LSU right now 2-0 in conference play. But the Vanderbilt Commodores are up next for the Gamecocks. Joe, before we wrap it up, I wanted to go back to something Frank Martin said after the Missouri game on Sunday. He talked about the Gamecocks' defense, and we know that this is what Frank Martin hangs his hat on as a college basketball coach. And he talks a lot about on-the-ball defense, particularly by the guards. And he said that A.J. Lawson's on-the-ball defense helped settle the Gamecocks down against Missouri. This is something that Martin always harps on, Joe, on-the-ball defense. And he's talking about A.J. Lawson, the freshman guard for Carolina, praising him, Joe, saying good things about him. This got to be a good sign for the Gamecocks.
It's a definitely good sign. When you're a point guard and you're on the island, it's one of the hardest positions to guard. You guard the point guard. You out there in the middle of the floor, you trying to stop the guy from – he has so much room. And for A.J. Lawson to step up and play the defense that he has, he eliminates – he helps out Silver. He helps out the big because the big – if a guard penetrates and beats A.J. Lawson, that puts the big guys in a predicament, man. They have to help. Either they're going to foul or the point guard that's on offense is going to drop it off to the big guy and so much to finish. So by – A.J. Lawson being able to contain because he's so long. He's a long guy. He's rangy. He's quick. And for him to stay in front of these guys and not allow dribble penetration, that sets the tone for Frank Martin's defense. You want to be on the island and guard your guy, guard your man, and not allow him to beat you and penetrate. And that sets the tone for, again, Frank Martin's defense.
Martin praising freshman guard A.J. Lawson and his defensive play against Missouri. Martin, after the game, said good things about Quanzo Martin and the Missouri Tigers. In fact, Frank said he respects the heck out of the way they play. So I think Coach Martin pleased with the fact that the Gamecocks were able to pull out this 10-point win over Missouri on Sunday. So the Gamecocks headed to Nashville, and we'll talk about it when we come back here on Gamecock Central Radio. For Gamecock great Joe Rhett, I'm Emerson Phillips. Thanks for joining us.